Okay guys, welcome back to some more TEKKIT, episode 15 I do believe. Not, this could be awkward. But this episode what we're actually going to be doing is building this Mobtrap that I've wanted to do for a little while here. And for those unaware, I'll be building Ethos, at least a little bit like Ethos, Mobtrap. I have tried in the past to do different designs with different like plug holes and shit, but it just seems like this one is going to be one of the most efficient ways I can do that. Before we do anything, I really needed to create another macerator, because I'm sick of not being able to, not duplicate, but you know, be all efficient and shit. But yeah, this energy collector has been doing work. So we've turned a piece of coal into alternateless fuel. So as you can see, the EMC value just climbs regardless. And I'm always tempted to just get a fuck ton of these going and just leave them going for ages. And eventually they pay themselves off, I think. I think they have about an EMC value of 84,000 to build, and already it's created about 10,000. So it's 1/8 of the way of paying itself off. And once it's paid itself off, obviously you're just getting free EMC. So that's probably something I might start using more in the future. I'm not quite sure if I will, but at the same time, it is very probable. But yeah, I've just been charging up my tools, getting ready for this episode, and this alchemy bag, it's not behaving in the way that I thought it would be. It looks like it's just an extra inventory space, and I imagine there's only a maximum of one of these you can hold at any given time. Otherwise, you could just have an inventory full of alchemy bags, which would be a bit fucking overpowered. But regardless, I'll just use the one, even if that's the case, because I don't want to feel too full on hacks. But I'm going to be building this Mobtrap out of wood, if you can probably gather by the amount of wood in my inventory. And that's just because I can get my hands on it, and it goes flush with the build design. The trap. It is a mob. What am I saying? This design is I don't know. It's not the most attractive looking thing in the world, but it is highly effective. So that's what we'll be building this episode, if you're wondering. So it is going to be a bit more buildy if that isn't your thing. Just trucking that out there, just so people don't think that I'm going to be doing anything else. But hopefully you can get this thing, at least a couple of layers of this thing set up. And because it is very effective, and I don't know, I've wanted to build this actually in my vanilla Let's Play for a while. However, I just haven't gotten around to it. So this is going to be a preview to what I do, possibly in the future on that series. But who knows? I may not use it in the future. Guess time will tell. But what I might do is actually have a snooze before we do anything, because it is pretty dark, and yeah, it is so annoying. I don't know why the rego is fairly bad in the whole clicking the bed thing, but regardless, it probably doesn't matter too much. But this design is actually really simple. I've built it a couple of times, and I wasn't actually sure who built it, and then I realized it was fucking Ethos, so I was happy as Larry. And yeah, I wasn't actually sure if it was his design or not, but I don't know, it was nice to see that it was actually his. And I don't know, I just saw it somewhere and I built it, and from there on I just kept using it. Obviously I've got an outdated Mobtrap design in my world, and it's extremely inefficient in terms of half slabs, and that's why I really want to upgrade and use this design. For those who don't know, it's just a bunch of 3x3 columns like this with a half slab in the middle. The half slab disables spiders from spawning because they need a certain area of space to spawn, so all that can spawn is mobs like zombies, creepers and skeletons on the outside blocks here, and all they need to do is walk one block and they're into the pit, I guess you'd call it. But yeah, this trap design, it's fairly simple once you've built it a couple of times, and for those who are interested in building it yourself, I'll build the first layer on camera completely so you guys can follow. It isn't too hard, as I said, but obviously I've built it a couple of times before. Oh my god, I love TEKKIT. I love how it just auto... God, I feel like I'm on a fucking trampoline right now. But anyway, I like how it just auto-replenishes the blocks. Fucking bipolar commentary much. But anyway, this episode is probably one of very few that I will actually be focusing on the building the whole episode. But hopefully some of you guys learn a thing or two from this thing. This trap may be common knowledge to some of you guys. For those who don't, or you've never built a mob trap in your world or anything, and you're looking to build one, this is definitely the design I'd recommend. And it doesn't take a shit ton of resources, especially in TEKKIT. And a shit ton of resources in TEKKIT really doesn't mean anything, because you can pretty much just EMC the shit out of it and just turn alternative stuff into the stuff that you actually need. I feel like I used the word stuff way too many times in that sentence. But yeah, I haven't built this in a while, so I could screw up, but, oh god, game lag for the win. But yeah, I don't know, I kept putting this thing off because I wasn't sure if I'd want to use it or not. Obviously, there are more effective ways of getting EMC and TEKKIT, but I thought a mob trap would be just a bit old school. Stay true to the vanilla version, a little bit at least, and I don't know, have it incorporated into my house and just have a constant supply of mob drops, which would be fairly awesome. What I want to prioritize obviously is the gunpowder and the bones. I'm pretty sure they're the two highest EMC valued mob drops in the game. Obviously zombie flesh and stuff are fairly shitty, so that's something I probably don't want to be collecting too much of. However, I can just, you know, recycle it, turn it into scrap or whatnot. But that's another story for a later date. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoying the TEKKIT. The general consensus is that it's fairly popular amongst you guys, which really took me by surprise, so I'm happy to post this stuff. But yeah, I've actually recorded a couple episodes today already, and I don't know, it just seems like a mod where I always have something to do and I always have something to record, which is awesome, and few and far between when I'm looking at gameplays to create. But what I'm going to do, just to avoid confusion, is make sure that I got this center pillar here and I don't get too carried away. So basically, from this center pillar you want to create a 2x2 of pillars here. That's pretty much the simple startup to this design, at least. And all that you do from there is just connect them all together and chuck a few more columns around the edges. But you'll see as I go along. I did watch Etho's tutorial of this design, but I did find myself rewinding, rewatching, and all that stuff. So my goal is to, if you watch this video, you kind of can build it for yourself, and you kind of have it fresh in your head. If you do ever decide to build this thing, and if you do build it in your world, let me know. But if I do remember, please check out Etho's tutorial. Basically, it is what it is. It is this, but Etho. So I'll put a link to that video in the description if I remember. If not, please just search him up. Because yeah, I don't want to take false credit for this design because I didn't come up with it. But I was looking for ways to tweak it. However, I just really couldn't fault it. It's just very effective. The water streams kind of just go naturally with the design, and there's minimal tubing and stuff such that has to get done after it's all complete, because it all just flows together. So basically, what I'll need to do is just chuck up 2 more columns here, and I'm pretty sure I've got the basic design concept all rounded out. Now, I'm pretty sure there are alternative ways of doing this design, but I didn't want to make it too fat. I want it to look semi-okay from the ground, and I don't know, I've seen some crazy fucking mob traps, but a lot of them just look really ugly and or require a shit ton of redstone. And I could build one of those piston pushing designs similar to my Enderman farm in my vanilla Let's Play, but they are just very resource intensive, and they always end up breaking, which is really a bummer. And for that reason, I probably won't, you know, focus too hardly on that. But yeah, this mob trap it's probably my favorite design, apart from what I had in the past. But this one just seems to be just completely simplified, and it's just, I don't know, it doesn't have any stupid mechanics in it that are hard to understand. It's just very easy to comprehend how this thing works, and it's just very effective. But I'm going to stop riding this thing's dick and just get into building it. But what I will do, and potentially, is gather a word of the day question. I haven't done that in so long. I don't think I've done that in at least 20 episodes, which is weird saying that. It boggles my mind that I've done like 70 episodes rather of my Let's Play and 20 episodes of TEKKIT. I will never get my head around that thought. Probably don't want to say thought and stuff at the same time, otherwise you sound like a spastic. But what I'm going to do here is start setting up the water streams. Now, what I want to do, I want to make sure that I don't have any blocks that don't need to be there for the most part. Obviously, if there's a couple that I fuck up with, then I don't really mind too much. But actually, I think speaking of fucking up, I'm pretty sure this border here doesn't really need to be here at all. It's probably actually necessary for the walling. So I will leave it there, but I don't think it is necessary. You could just start it from there and go up, like so, but yeah, I guess we'll just be a perfectionist and shit. But what I want to do to confirm that I've actually set this up right is set up the water streams, and you'll pretty much know whether this thing, you've built it right or not once you set up the streams. It's fairly simple to do, but obviously you can make mistakes, and when you're recording live commentary, those mistakes are always going to happen. So hopefully I have a bucket somewhere. I don't recall making a bucket, but even if I haven't, it shouldn't be too hard to gather the resources to make it. Let's check out how this thing's going. Still at the alternate fuel. Obviously, when it's only making 1 EMC per second or whatever, 8,000 seconds is it's a few minutes. Not going to do the math, but you can imagine. So I'm kind of confused right now. I don't know why there's a lack of iron quite now, but all I need to do is macerate some iron, whatchamacallit, dust, and from there I did get actually a brilliant tip for one of you guys, and what that was instead of using the dust and smelting that into ingots, is to get ingots in the first place and then just exchange the dust for ingots. That may seem a little bit far-fetched, but hear me out. We'll explain that with a bit of detail in a second. So yeah, basically what you want to do, at least get 1 ingot in the first place. Obviously you can't do the condensing process, but once you do have that ingot with the dust that you have, you can just use that as EMC. So that way, because what happens is the ingot is the same, well, it's the same EMC value as the dust. So basically what you do is just trade the dust for ingots in the condenser, and that cancels out the process of cooking it, which is actually a really good tip. I forget who suggested that, but you know who you are, and I thank you for it. And hopefully you guys can comprehend what I just said, and it hopefully helps you out as well. But anyway, so we've got all of our required iron. So just going to chuck our ingot in here, followed by our 5 dusty roos, and as you can see, we've got 5 further ingots. And yeah, it's just a really good way to, you know, cancel out a process that really doesn't need to be there in the first place. A good little method of dancing around that. But anyway, so what I do need is obviously water. Actually, what I might do is grab a second bucket, because I hate placing down water with only 1 bucket. Where art thou, dusticle? Alright. So bam, fucking Majera. And alright, so we've got a second bucket. Not sure if buckets stack. No, they don't in this patch. Probably don't want the destruction catalyst. That may be a bit awkward if I just take out my whole fucking Mobtrap with an accidental misclick. But yeah, if you're ever placing water, you want to be using the akimbo water streams. It just makes making infinite sources so much easier. And speaking of infinite sources, I might just make a mock-up one over here somewhere. But I just got to make sure that I've blocked off all the necessary areas, and so the water doesn't flow out all over the place and it gets all messy and shit and takes out my torches down below, because that would suck bottom. But I'm fairly sure, let's see, what I'll need to do is, dude, will I buy CSGO? That's a live question from Dexter. CSGO is just the new upcoming Counter-Strike, for those wondering. And I don't think I will buy it. I have only got about 20 hours in Counter-Strike Source, and I used to really love that game, but I just don't really, I can't spend a lot of time on it. But anyway, that's random. I may buy it in the future, but there's your answer, DMC Dexter, just on the fly. So yeah, that's, if you want to submit questions, actually, go for it. Always happy to answer a few questions. But obviously we got our water stream too far close, that's English for the fucking masters right there. So what we want to do is extend this out 1, and obviously the first layer is the most critical layer, because if you fuck this one up, you're going to fuck the rest of them up, and it's not going to be as efficient. We'll could potentially be as efficient, but at the same time it could potentially be a bit flawed in some light. But speaking of light, there is very minimal right now, so I'm going to take a snooze so you guys can see with a bit of ease. Go away, bruh. I'll take my fucking battle axe to the face. But hopefully none of my shit just got washed away by that water stream. But yeah, once I build this first layer, I will probably stop recording and do the rest off camera, and hopefully you guys get the general gist. Basically what you do after the first layer is just repeat the process over and over and over, and yeah, so that's why I wanted to show you guys the first layer in its entirety at least. So hopefully you can learn a thing or two from this episode, and you don't have to be playing in TEKKIT. This thing is a vanilla trap that just works in the way that I would like it to for TEKKIT. So if you want to build this in vanilla, it works in vanilla. It's actually built, it was actually designed for that version. So just to clarify that, this isn't a TEKKIT exclusive Mobtrap. But as I said, I did not think of it by myself. I'm not a Minecraft genius, that is Etho. But I probably don't need the infinite water streams now that I think about it. But what I will need to do is plug off all these walls here. And these walls, I don't know, they're very, very crucial, because if you miss a wall, you're going to have water spilling out the sides, and or mobs just going everywhere. Now, you got to make sure that you keep the 3x3s the same shape. For example, if I was to accidentally make this 4 long, spiders would spawn on that block there, and you'd have a bad time, needless to say. So you got to make sure that you keep the wall a bit elevated, just so you don't get confused on what's a spawning pad and what is actually a wall. What you can do is make the spawning pads out of cobblestone and the walls out of something else. Something that could generally be considered common sense, but it is a good way to differentiate between the two. Also, an extra mob spawning space you can place right there, and yeah, Bob's your uncle. So basically, once I've got all this wall up, I'll probably stop filming this and put a roof on it and give you guys a brief demonstration on how it performs with one layer at least. Obviously, I really need to prioritize lighting up caves, because mobs are going to be spawning fucking everywhere until I do that, and that's probably going to take a long time. That's probably, apart from building the mob trap, that's going to be the longest process that you will have to undergo, providing you build it under the old build height limit, is to light up caves. And if you do build this and you feel like, another live question, why do I keep changing my name? Anyway, so yeah, if you don't light up your caves properly, you're going to have mobs spawning and your efficiency will drop a shit ton. So if your mob trap, you feel like it's doing poorly, chances are you've got some caves around that place that mobs are spawning in. And obviously the fix for that is to just go around with a fuck ton of torches and yeah, just fix that up for yourself and make sure that you get as much of them as you can. Ideally, you can hope to get them all, but obviously it is quite hard to find every single cave, so the more the merrier. But anyway, so that's the basic layer for one. I fucked this one up over here, I can already tell. Stupid fucking chainsaw, do your shit properly. But yeah, as you can see, if you can just make sure that you're constantly tweaking with your design, making sure that it's up to speed, and making sure that the design's correct, because as I said, if you get the first layer wrong, chances are you'll continue the shitty layering process, and you'll probably end up with a slightly flawed mob trap, and it's best off to get it right the first time, as opposed to getting it wrong and then trying to correct it further down the track. But yeah, this mob trap, I really like this design, I can't say that enough, and it's actually pretty easy to build. So what I will do is give you guys a slow little pan over of how it works, but as I place the water stream strategically. But yeah, a lot of designs require signs and stuff to prevent water from spilling over, but this thing just, the water streams just all connect together perfectly. I feel like, I don't know, one of those food enthusiasts that just talk way too in depth about the fucking shit that they're eating. Anyway, but yeah, it's just a very, very good design, and it doesn't waste any blocks. So so yeah, in total you will need how many water sources? 8 water sources, 16 spawning pads, and I think overall it'll give you about 100 spawning pads, spawning blocks per layer that you build. So it's actually fairly neat. If you build 10 layers, you've got 10,000, you've got 1,000 blocks of spawning space. But what I will do, guys, is continue building this thing and put a roof on it. And I'll give you guys just a brief little look over this thing before I do so. But yeah, next time you see this trap, it'll have a roof, and hopefully you can test out some of the rates that I get from this thing. And yeah, I'll be right back, guys. Alright guys, so the roof's all finished up. One thing I do want to add before we go any further is to make sure that your roof is only 2 blocks tall, otherwise you'll have endermen spawning and it won't be good. So I'll give you guys a quick little look in the inside of it, and I'm quite sure why the block light level is so high in here, but I'm sure I'll be able to figure it out. But yeah, this is what a layer of the Mobtrap looks like, and it is fairly neat and I like it. So what I'm going to do, I'm not sure if I'm on normal, yeah, what I wanted to do is test this thing out. Obviously you want to be at least 24 blocks away from this thing, which is why there is a 24 block gap between my base here and this thing. Also, when mobs do fall, a 24 block will ensure that they die on impact. However, my bed will probably cushion the fall. And I'm not quite sure if this Mobtrap will actually spawn very effectively at this stage. I'm not quite sure, as I said, why there is such a high light level in there. I may have forgotten to patch up a bit of the roof, but hopefully we can find a mob in this thing eventually. A little bit concerned right now, not gonna lie, but hopefully after I light some caves up and such, this thing will improve in efficiency. But before the next episode, I will go ahead and light up a bunch of caves to hopefully increase the spawning rates of this thing, because as of yet it is completely 0. So that's something I want to change, and hopefully it becomes an effective trap. Obviously you want to be building more than 1 layer for this thing. I just wanted to build this layer for you guys, and eventually as the episodes progress I'll probably have more and more layers stacked onto this thing. I just won't show it on video. So with that in mind, if you are going to build this thing, you'll notice that my Y coordinate is 98, right, 96. You don't want to be going over 127. So my Mobtrap may only have about 4 or 5 layers tops, but obviously I don't really mind that it's not the most efficient thing in the world. Basically just wanted to have a little trap just in case I ever needed gunpowder and stuff, and hopefully it works. It's not going to be something that I pay a whole lot of attention to, but before I do build this next layer, I probably will give it a rest and hopefully we get some spawns. But I'm going to chuck some torches up here just to prevent spawning in the meantime. But what I want to do is go ahead and wait until night time and see if this thing actually starts building up in spawns. But I will do so, and then I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I've been working on this thing for a little bit, motherfucker. But I've found out some issues that I was having with it. And since I've been recording last time, I've actually made a bit of progress. But we'll get into that at a later date. What I've done in my absence is lit up the place, all over the place, gone underground a little bit, lit up a few caves. But apart from that, the only new additions to the Mobtrap that I've made is that I've added an additional layer to it, plus these massive spikes. What these spikes will do, if you look at my LC coordinate, or the LC value, it is 127. If these weren't here, it would be 111, and LC stands for loaded chunks, and I'm not quite sure how high I can make these, but the goal is not to go over the build limit, so that's just the theory that I'm using behind that. But generally when you have a Mobtrap, you want to have the most amount of chunks loaded as you can, and an easy way to load your chunks is to chuck pillars up like this. I did originally just have this one in the center, but it's a lot more stable if you have 5 of them like this. But anyway, all that stuff aside, the first layer I was kind of shitting my pants because it wasn't spawning many mobs. It still really isn't the most effective thing, but there was something that was broken, and you guys may have this issue as well. So, whoa, no, my rings died in the arse. But what was happening is as you'll see in a moment when my game stops being poo, the pads, they're very light, some of them are dark, but that's just because I fixed those ones. And you may have this issue yourself. You think that you may have a hole in the wall or something, or a torch on the floor or something, but in fact it's just a glitch. And how you fix it is by updating the blocks and getting rid of it. Obviously you need to find the source of it, so the easiest way you can do that is with a water stream. So what you need to do is just drop some water from the ceiling over and over, and hopefully you come across those light blocks. And I'm not quite sure why this glitch happens, but at least that's an easy fix, and that's the main reason why it wasn't spawning. So as we go back down, I noticed what helped me realize that is because I built the second layer and it wasn't glitched out, so I then realized that I needed to fix that. But now this thing should be working fairly effectively out of the poop chute. That coordinate is just a rough guideline that I used when lighting up caves, and making sure that anything that's within 130 blocks or 126 or whatever the hell it is, making sure to light that area up, and if it's over 140 or whatever, that it's not worth putting a torch down. But hopefully we can start to see the poopy faces spawning. As you can see, it's really not the most efficient thing in the world, but eventually when we add 3 or 4 more layers, it should be fairly cool. It isn't going to be the massive EMC generator that I want it to be, but at the same time it's going to be awesome just to have random mob drops just throughout the day for no work at all. But anyway guys, that was another episode of TEKKIT. Let me know if you enjoyed it, and if you want to suggest ideas or anything, feel free to chuck me in a comment. But anyway guys, I'll catch you guys later for the next episode of TEKKIT.